Thanks for joining. We're looking forward to updating you. I want to give, though, just a little bit of context. And as you guys, I think as you students are aware, and the staff that are on this call representing our school districts, there has been a lot of work in our county over this last period so that we could be ready when it's safe for staff and students to actually have in-person instruction. And that's been the work we've been doing all the way back to March 19th, when we started with the pop-up childcare centers. So we've been doing this work for a very, very long time. And we, just a week ago, on the 17th, I think, of July, the governor essentially set some parameters for any county that's on the watch list about what the conditions can be for them to return to in-school instruction. And Marin County is one of the, I think it's now 35 counties in our state that are on this watch list. And there are parameters that we need to meet in order to allow for our school districts at the high school level to provide in-class instruction. And so this was something that we had not anticipated. However, it is the safety precaution that our state is identifying to ensure that we deal with the increased numbers and actually refocus the entire state on what we need to do. And it's the basics, right? Wash your hands, wear a mask, stay distanced. And the fact that we continue to have seen increases was something that essentially the frame of our governor and the public health officials that we really need to sort of reassert how important that is. So some of what you've heard before about what the thinking is about what things might look like have changed as a result of the state direction. But we still thought it important to bring everyone together to talk with you about what we do know. And Ella, I'm going to pass it off to you for a few comments before we open it up to the districts.
Thank you. So I'm excited everyone came here today. Obviously, as Mary Jane Burke said, a lot has changed since our last meeting. So we think it's really important that we allow students to ask questions again about what the online learning is going to look like in their particular districts. So I think that's all I really have to say. So I think the first question I would have is, what does each district think a general outline of their online school is going to look like if they're going to be using multiple platforms like Google Classroom or Canvas, just like a brief overview of what they think it's going to look like. So anyone can just start with that. Yeah, go for it.
Hi, my name is Adam Jennings. I'm the principal of Tomales High School in the Shoreline Unified School District. Thank you for this opportunity to see students' faces. I haven't seen many of those lately, so I'm excited to be able to do that. Shoreline will be doing using Google Classroom. We will be moving, we were in a traditional schedule, we'll be moving to a block schedule, so we'll still be offering all of our 6 periods that we currently or previously had offered, but we'll be doing them on an A-B block schedule with 80-minute periods that will be a combination of direct and small group and whole group instruction, and then some independent work time within that schedule. We'll be using Zoom as our main platform. We already had partnerships with Discovery Ed. We're looking to expand those partnerships, and we're also looking into we have a pretty robust CTE, Career Technical Education and Ag program, and so we're looking at some online resources for that, though that's, proving to be obviously more difficult than some of the more traditional subjects. So we're working through that. One thing that'll be, I guess, essentially maybe unique to us is we had been in the other iteration when we were trying to, because we're small. For those of you who don't know, Tomales High, we're 9-12, but we only have about 160 students. Traditional high school, just we draw from an area that is large, but not very populated. And so one of the challenges for us in trying to bring students back on campus was busing, because about 90% of our students bus into school, both from K to 12. And so we had developed sort of a staggered start time where our elementaries would go from 8 to 1, and then our high schools would go from 10 to 3. on campus to allow the buses to essentially get all the elementary school, distancing on the buses, get the elementary school kids in, and then go back out, get cleaned, go back out, and bring in the high school kids. And so even in the distance framework, we're going to maintain that schedule. So our high school day the elementary days will start at roughly 8 a.m. and go to roughly 1, and then the high school will start at 10 and go to 3, which we also believe will support our high school students who did from surveying did a great deal of the distance learning management for the younger kids as well, because families were working and things like that. So that's our rough plan. We met yesterday as a team, and we're also an interesting idea, and I'd love any student feedback on this. We're considering also building into our schedule. We had a pretty robust activity meeting time that took place at lunch, clubs, sports teams, those sorts of things. And we're considering building in time for advisors in the daily schedule for advisors to continue, even sports coaches to continue to meet with students, planning, discussing, some activities lend themselves to this distance platform more than others, but we thought that would be maybe a way for kids to keep connected in some of the things that they appreciated about school a little more than math. So that's our current thinking.
Great. Do any students have any opinions on what he mentioned about the club time?
So hi, I'm Stefania. So personally, I just had a question about it because I go to San Marin High School, and I was also thinking about the club times and what we would do, because I don't think we're going to have a lunch period in the sections or the schedule they sent out. So I don't know when we would have club meetings in that case, or when we'd have time to do it. So I like that you're giving time to do that, because that is, I feel like, an important activity that students have at school. So
cool. Thank you.
So I'll jump in. I'm Dr. Carter from Nevada Unified, and very similar to Principal Jennings. We just miss you guys so much. Our campuses don't have the same life without your energy and your thoughts and your troublemaking and your curiosity. So we're all just aching to create spaces where we can be together. So I appreciate this space. We are also going to be doing Google Classroom. We had great success with that in the fall, and we want to make sure that our students have consistency. So we're going to be doing the Google Classroom, relying on the Zoom platform. We had success with that, and our Apex Learning as well. I love the thinking here about clubs. I think that's something that we need to spend more time thinking through. Just like Adam, we're going to be doing 2 periods. We'll be doing 2 periods daily, so 90 minutes. And making sure that students get that instruction with their teachers. I'm sure most of you guys, you're kind of a savvy group, but you understand that there are new legal expectations for the quality of what you're going to see when we come back to school, for the amount of face time that you're going to get with your educators. So we've spent a lot of time this summer really tooling up our staff and making sure that they're prepared to deliver that for you in the fall.
Great. Does anyone have any questions on that plan? Okay, so we can move on to the next district.
So I'll jump in, Jim Hogeboom from Center Fell, and echo missing all you guys. I would also request if you can turn your video on, that's helpful. It's kind of one of the norms we try to have. I will say that I think that distance learning needs to improve significantly over the spring. And it is going to be improved. As Ms. Carter said, our training of staff is going to improve, but we also need students to step up. I mean, for one thing, grading is going to change. Last semester, we gave pretty much everybody a pass. Everybody in our district pretty much got a credit, no credit. You're going to need to participate. You're going to need to turn your videos on. They're going to take attendance every day. So the requirements and the expectations are going to change quite a bit. We've been working with our teachers on staff expectations, student expectations. We need to help parents learn more about the video world and distance learning so they can support you guys. So it's really going to look a lot different. Again, as Ms. Carter said, the requirements for daily interactions with kids are pretty clear. So it's not just a, hey, once a week kind of check-in thing. There's supposed to be daily interaction. And so I think you'll find that it's a lot more robust. It should be a lot better, but students are going to need to be there with their cameras on, participating. That's going to be a big change for every district, I believe. In Santa Fe, we use Canvas as our learning management system. For us, that works great. We have been using Google Meet, but a lot of requests came in to use Zoom. So we're actually going to open up Zoom in our district as well. For us, advisory is going to be a key part of our day where we check in with students. We want to make sure they all have a Chromebook, internet access, any problems you guys are having. If we are able to bring students back, we hope to bring them back in smaller advisory groups as kind of a touch point down the line. I think that's going to be a while. I mean, I think it's going to take a couple months for us to get off the watch list. So I don't think we're coming back to school at the at any level, really, anytime soon in, you know, a regular format. We adopted a 4x4, as I think most districts did. So students will be taking 3 out of 4 classes, and they should be checking in with those classes every day for a limited period of time. There are requirements. And the last thing is, I think most districts are, we've all, I think, had task forces that have been working on what this looks like. But we also have to sign memorandums of understandings, or MOU, with our teachers unions. And frankly, our teachers are very fearful of coming back. They want to make sure that all the safety protocols are in place. So all of our districts are kind of in the process of working with our teachers unions to make sure that they feel comfortable that we have those safety procedures as well. And that's it for Santa Fe.
Great. Someone else can go next, Mrs. Armstrong or Mr. Graff.
Yeah, I'll jump in, as our plan is similar. Well, I know you asked about the learning management system. We have both Google Classroom and Canvas. Canvas being a little newer than Google Classroom for us anyway. And so we have, it'll be split. There'll be some teachers using Google Classroom, and there'll be others using Canvas. Instruction will be delivered via Ring Central, I believe, very similar to Zoom. As a matter of fact, I think they may be under the same umbrella in terms of the company. So the breakout rooms, the videos, all of that is extremely familiar, or should be if you've been on the Zoom platform. Our schedule is Monday through Friday, and we're expecting students to be engaged, videos on, and receiving instruction. When there's opportunities to work in groups, then we'll facilitate what that looks like, but it will definitely be an opportunity to engage in learning. Our Mondays are scheduled right now to be our launch of the week, where students go to classes, they get the weekly learning plan, they connect with their teachers, they make sure that they have all the resources that they need to complete the tasks that will be on the other days. So like a standard first period class would be 3 days a week if you're at a different campus. And we actually plan on getting those schedules out, the Bell schedule out to students, hopefully within the next few weeks. But we did put together our distance learning guide, our plan that has more detailed information, and it's on our website. So if you didn't receive that in the through email, then it's definitely on the website. But we want to hear from you, because that means that we need to make sure we have updated contact information.
Great, that sounds good. Mr. Graff, do you have anything to say about your particular district?
I'm with Superintendent Hoogboom, so what he says I agree with.
Okay. Okay, so moving on to some questions from the students now that we know the general plans from each of the districts. Does anyone have any questions? If you do, you can just unmute yourself and start talking.
Hi, I'm a student at Novato High School, and I have more questions for Dr. Carter. Can you elaborate more on the daily? You said 2 classes a day, 90 minutes each class, I guess. But how many days, and there were a lot of options that you guys showed us, so it's not really clear. Can you go over it in a lot more detail with that? And talk a little bit more about how the teachers are gonna maybe work with us more, because we know the spring was not great, but it was really about everybody doing everything differently. So if people could come together a little bit more and have more structure with regard to the learning, that might help. But anyway, can you go over the schedule with a lot more detail, please?
Thanks, Grace. And we agree that, there was area for improvement for us, and that, as students, you need that predictability. So what we've done is, if you go onto our reopening plan, there's really 3 schedules. So the first is the remote schedule, and we're trying to make these schedules get as close as we can to what the schedule will be like when you finally get to be on our campuses. So the remote schedule will be paralleling sort of how your day will be when you come to campus, which is under the new state guidelines, we're looking at 240 minutes of instruction at a minimum. And so we're looking at, you would do first period for an hour and a half, second period for an hour and a half. And then after that, we do have support opportunities. So because a lot of us are doing compressed block, I think it's really important for every high school student to understand that this is going to be very condensed, a slightly more rapid pace. So, don't think because you just have 2 classes a day that it's kickback time. That's 2 really meaty classes that are almost like 2 classes in one. And so we're going to be supporting, and if a student gets off pace with the course, that's when we're going to make it mandatory. You have to now spend some of that afternoon time with your teacher, because if you get off pace in a class that is this condensed and this rapid, you're going to be in big trouble. So that's something for you and all your classmates to kind of understand, spread the word. Don't get behind in these block schedules. It can be really challenging. So that's going to be the remote schedule. And if you shoot me an email, acarter@nusd.org, I can send you the more detailed. So remote is that way. Then hybrid is, we're going to split into groups. So we'll do weekly groups. You'll come with your group, first period, second period, day 1, third period, fourth period, day 2. And then we're hoping to, hopefully in the spring, ramp up to where you're there full time. But shoot me an email. I'll send you all the detailed plans, and we're really looking forward to doing something that has more predictability for you as a student to manage your days.
Hi there.
Okay. So does anyone else have another question right now?
Hi, can you hear me? I have a question. I wanted to know, I'm the parent of a middle age student that's going to middle school, to Sinaloa. Is this Zoom meeting only for high school students?
It's open to everyone, but currently the district leaders that we have are from high schools, except for Principal Jennings, who is the principal of a K through 12 school, right? Is that correct?
No, I'm high school, 9-12.
Just high school.
And actually, Ella, Superintendent Hogaboom, Dr. Carter, as well as Dr. Armstrong. Oh, no, not Dr. Armstrong is high school only, but San Rafael and Novato also include kindergarten through grade 12.
Okay.
So may I ask a question, please? I have a question for, again, this is for new student that's going on to Sinaloa, 6th grade. Are they gonna receive any material in person? I mean, anything like that sort, or everything is completely gonna be done online? Thank you.
Yep. So because we have to start remote, we will, if your student needs a laptop or any of those materials, we're going to make those available, and principals are going to push that out. I think we've worked off of San Rafael City Schools, created a great document that really helps a parent understand and a student understand what is happening on a daily basis and what the expectations are. So we borrowed their stuff, and it's great, and it's going to help you as a parent understand what is expected and at what time period for each of my students. So our principals just got into the office today here in Novato, so they're working on getting that out, and we'll make sure that you have that in ample time before the first day of school. Hey, and Ella, the other thing that I wanted to mention to you guys is if you drove by our campuses right now and got to walk around in them, that they are being radically changed. We're putting up screens, we're putting up pathways, we're adjusting, the flow of stuff. It's really trippy stuff to see, but when you come back to the campus, when you finally get the chance to do that, they have really done a great job with screens and directional markers and spacing markers. So it's gonna be a very different campus. It's gonna be a very safe campus. And you're going to see a lot of the sort of physical precautions that we're going to keep working on even during this remote period.
Great, thank you guys so much. I have a quick question just for all of the district leaders. Thinking about in terms of like freshmen coming in, is there going to be any sort of orientation or way to bring them into the school with online learning?
Kimberly from Tamalpais. Absolutely. Our principals are working on a plan right now to do some onboarding of our ninth grade and transferring students. That means getting them technology, getting the students on campus so that we can get any information that we need from them and get them the resources that they need. And then also for the first week of school, we're planning to do some activities that help create and establish connections, renew connections, and launch into the year in that themed relationship way that most schools generally start. So we're trying to figure out how to do some virtual pep rallies and other things to engage our new and transferring students, as well as all of the ones returning.
I would echo that from Shoreline as well. And also add that one of the things that we've been talking about is how we, what our orientation looks like for all students, right? Because this is a new, even from, as Jim said, even a new from the spring, this is a whole different world in terms of how we're handling distance learning. So how do we make that more accessible and more understandable for all students, and what those first few days look like in terms of just entire school orientation to this new learning environment?
And our principals at Santa Fe City Schools are working on that as well. I know I just spoke with the principal at Terra Linda yesterday, and she was already starting plans to try to onboard our ninth grade students. And then we also have our middle school, our comprehensive middle schools doing the same thing, trying to get sixth graders on campus in smaller groups just to orient them to the campus and to some of the expectations of middle school in general.
Yep, same thing in Novato as well.
Great. Does anyone else have another question right now?
Yeah, I do.
Great.
So I'm Eliana, and I'm going into sixth grade. And so I was wondering, what's it gonna be like with for band?
So I'll jump in. So in Novato, we do have some restrictions around things that are considered heavy breathing activities. A lot of our high schools are really shifting their music programs to be focused more on music theory, music history, making sure that, you get the opportunity to learn about your passion, even if we can't be practicing together. Our music teachers are trying to come up with some innovative ways to make sure that students still get the skills and practicing with their instrument, but we're being very careful about those things on campus. I think, in a full return environment, maybe small group working outdoors would probably be the max that you'll see during this pandemic, just because we're so concerned about those activities. But we're really watching the health guidelines, and right now, things like woodwind and those, any of those heavy breathing things really seem too risky for us to do much of that on our campus. So it'll be interesting, that's for sure.
Hi guys, I joined late. This is Shelley Bolton. I have a son that is up in Novato, and just wanting to, we chose the in-person learning, and so if you covered this earlier, I apologize, but I wanted to understand what the online learning would look like when you've chosen the in-person learning, because I recognize it will happen that way unless we get everything under control here, and then they would go back in some kind of a schedule. But will it be like actually plugged in classes where a teacher will be standing in a room and then they have to be on the class time, like on a Zoom meeting or something like what we're doing here? Or what would that look like?
Yep, that's a great question. So what we've really done, and a lot of the other Marin districts are doing this as well, is we've asked, there are some families who told us in May that you're not going to be able to make me comfortable sending my child to school. I may have some health issues at home or other issues that really, we're not coming out till we